Good afternoon, everybody, on this Tuesday, September 30th, 2025. I've got all your stories for your rush hour ride home. If the government shuts down at midnight, do we have to pay rent tomorrow? That's the big question we should all be asking. I will get into this in the back half of the episode, how insane the political world we live in. If you want to put your head in the sand, I don't blame you. That'll be the second half. The first half, we've got a Keith Urban story, as the Keith Urban's wife, Nicole Kidman, has filed for divorce following him leaving her. It's a whole thing. I'll share how he hung up on a radio station when they started asking questions about this. So those stories, plus Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni, words have weight. And I'm going to share the changing of the words in Blake Lively's document that shows she's sort of backtracking from previous claims. I know, it's a lot to get into. So these stories and more, it all starts right now on The Rush. Let's dive into it. Nicole Kidman files for divorce from Keith Urban. Again, we've been following this story now for a couple days. Keith, I guess, left her early summer, and now we've actually got an update here as it's a battle of the PR. These are big brands, you know. Battle of the PR. Nicole Kidman, Keith Urban split. Inner Circle believes Keith involved with a new woman. So again, and then this is up that debate. Well, if they broke up beginning of summer, don't you want somebody new for pumpkin spice latte season? Listen, I don't mean to make light of a heavy situation. We don't know the details of the breakup. You know, it's one of those things. It's like, were you on a break? We were on a break. Or were they official Splitsville? Well, now Nicole is saying Splitsville. But it brings to light this clip. This was a moment Keith Urban exploded. Again, I don't know if that's a little clickbaity on radio over a Nicole Kidman question before the split. So this was, I don't have the exact date of when this took place. This was in July, where Keith Urban shut down the question. You know, they literally just pulled the plug on the interview. And by the way, these radio interviews, they're sleazy people. They're really, I mean, this question was pretty sleazy. Have a listen.
What does Keith Urban think when he sees his beautiful wife with beautiful younger men like Zac Efron having these beautiful love scenes on TV and radio? Oh, why has that happened? What's just happened to you?
He's disconnected from Zoom.
Did he just hang up on us?
I think his team hung up on us because they didn't want us to ask that question.
Really?
And by the way, I love it. I need you. We all need somebody on our team that just pulls the plug on the question. That was a bad. I mean, hey, what's it like having your wife work love scenes is different than what's it like having your wife do love scenes with Zac Efron and all of his 8 abs. You know, I said, come on, give the guy. But either way, you know, maybe beforehand they had maybe negotiated. Usually the PR says, don't ask questions about X, Y, and Z. And by the way, this is why I hate interviewing people, especially when it's through PR. This is the number one reason why I haven't hired my own PR, is because PR, God bless you guys. If there's any PR experts and want to call in, let me know. You can write to us, rushhourwithdave.com. But PR people, they get in the way. Don't talk about this. We'd like to hit this talking point. But in this case, that's the PR that you want. Pulls the plug and says, nope, we said we weren't going to do it. And the radio station thought they were going to get a gotcha out of old Keith Urban there. Not going to happen. Well, here's some nostalgia before we get to the Blake Lively stuff. We love nostalgia. We need nostalgia. Does anyone remember Home Improvement? You remember the show Home Improvement? Wilson behind the fence? I remember Pam Anderson was on it at one point in time. Either way, looks like they're bringing the show back. Good Morning America shared Tim Allen reunites with his Home Improvement castmates, Patricia Richardson, Richard Karn, and Deb Dunning in the season 2 premiere of Shifting Gears. Now, I don't think one of the sons from the show, there was 3 boys, right? Right, we had Jonathan Taylor Thomas. He was the young one. All of the elder millennials, they had the Teen Bop photos of Jonathan Taylor Thomas. And then he quit acting and, I think went to Columbia University, got out of it. It was, and I understand. And then the oldest son, I think that's the one who's had, alcohol addiction, domestic violence issues, and all of that. I don't expect to see him on the reunion. Let's see how they write him off.
What's it like to have everybody back together like this? I'm a little overwhelmed with these guys being in the scene and not being Tim Taylor. I learned a bunch of acting from these people.
Wait a minute, you're acting now?
Ooh, here we go.
Not right now.
Wow. Gotta stab it like that.
Richard, when did you realize that this was the hit that it was going to become?
I don't know if there was like a specific moment, but I just was really glad to have this job because I'd done theater, and all of a sudden things are getting rewritten. In the moment I go, you're rewriting this? The joke was good. I thought the joke was, I'm like fighting for these jokes, and they're going, no, we got something better.
What do you think it was that made Home Improvement work as well as it did, Tim?
I always felt it was this relationship. I wanted the husband and wife to be really in love with each other, unlike other sitcoms.
I am so glad that I didn't let anybody talk me out of marrying you. Tim and I went in every Monday after the first read-through, and because there were no women in the writing room really, so I got to go in and defend the woman's point of view.
Remember, babies at all? 2 a.m. feedings, 3 a.m. feedings. I don't have the energy for that anymore.
You don't have the energy to say, "Wake up, Jill, the baby wants you"?
We do a lot of Comic-Cons, and they come up and they like to tell us this was probably one of the best parts of their life because this was when they remembered family being family.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's nostalgia. If you grew up with it, Tim Allen plays Tim the Tool Man Taylor, and he's got one of those like low-quality cable shows about doing things, and he always breaks the tools. I mean, I don't know. It's a classic show. I was just Googling if Pam Anderson was actually on Home Improvement, and now I don't know. Now I'm wondering if I was misremembering it because there was this. I mean, there was always like the hot girl with the tool. Anyway, whatever. Who cares? Let's move it on. More Bad Bunny here. Here's a clip that went viral over the outrage of Bad Bunny. I just laugh at these outrage stories. They're so funny to me that those that are upset that Bad Bunny will be the halftime performer, finding out that Bad Bunny isn't a female performer.
Okay, so the NFL picked Bad Bunny for the 2026 Super Bowl halftime show. But let me be so real. I had never even heard of him. I thought Bad Bunny was a girl, maybe some type of influencer. But it turns out he is actually a Trump-hating, anti-ICE activist who doesn't even sing in English. But look at him. We know why they picked him, right? Here's a fact. He refused to tour America because he said ICE might be outside of one of his concerts. And that's who the NFL should represent America's biggest stage. Hey, NFL, do you even know your audience?
All right, so there it is. They're claiming that this will be the Bud Light moment for the NFL, where having Bad Bunny as the halftime show will lead to mass. Let me tell you something right now. Nobody who enjoys the NFL is going to boycott the Super Bowl. Nobody. All right, period. And by the way, I did search. Pam Anderson was on Home Improvement. I was right. How about these ties they used to wear? Wasn't that a wild time? Boy, I mean, let me tell you something. This was a very becoming age for me. I don't know, young Dave over here sees a woman with a tool belt wearing, some denim overalls. I lose my mind. I lose it. Either way, Pam Anderson, a cherished character. Good to have her. Okay, so let's move it on. So we have a Blake Lively update. This is a post from Ashley Brown and Eve covering some of the PR that's going on with Blake versus Justin. And again, I know some people have fatigue with this story, but trust me when I say there's only so many angles of Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman you can cover. How many abs did Zac Efron have? We already talked about it, right? So here, I'm going to share what Ashley Brown and Eve had to say, but this is a lot of the bad PR that's coming out about Ryan Reynolds, the pressure that's on that relationship. Now, early on in the lawsuit, you say, of course, a relationship, these types of things make you stronger. But at what point is Blake going to be bitter that maybe Ryan Reynolds comes off looking better at the end of this? And at what point is there a possible fissure? Now, I don't want any relationship to end, whether it's Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban or Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. I want everyone to find love and be happy. That's what I want. But, it could be not so much the case here. Have a listen.
And that might be actually her team that's pushing that. And let me tell you this. Number one, these articles that are coming out, I mean, not shocked. I would be humiliated too, to be quite honest. But number two, I don't think this was a planned PR take on this. I also don't think what we'll look at quickly is her post on Instagram. I also don't think that she was originally going to be posting that on Instagram. But it just makes me think more and more that their teams aren't connecting. Her post seems more of what you would see, and we've seen this. If an influencer says something negative about her, she hits back with a post like this. So I don't know. It seems more and more they're disconnected.
So there it is. And again, if you're kind of like saying, what did I miss on this conversation? It's the conversation about Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, what's Blake posting on Instagram? Can you read into it? And again, maybe not, or maybe. When I talked earlier about PR and how PR, they're meant to protect you, right? The PR for Blake is meant to protect Blake. PR for Ryan meant to protect Ryan. At what point might those PR people be clashing if they have different messages? It's an interesting question to ask. This is interesting. I wanted to share just a small, quick update from the latest filing by Blake Lively. The title of this is, interestingly, Blake Lively's lawyer Ezra has shifted Blake's protected activity from reporting sexual harassment to opposing unlawful harassment. Now, words matter, and it's interesting in real time to watch how their strategy has gone from, initially there was leaks that there was not just sexual harassment, but sexual assault. That was the big leak. That's a huge, obviously they're saying, no, there was no assault. There was no assault, but that was reported and retracted. And then you had, I think Vituska from the Daily Mail was questioning as to did he mess that up when he reported it, or whatever a reporter was? Did they mess it up, or were they told it was assault? Because again, assault and harassment, two wildly different claims. Well, now we have here in the highlighted part of response from Blake saying, as for retaliation, Miss Lively only must prove that she engaged in a protected activity, i.e. that she opposed unlawful harassment. So whether they mean to or not, it's them shifting away from sexual harassment and more just saying unlawful harassment. And could these terminology changes be because Blake can't prove that there was sexual harassment, and she just needs to prove that there was harassment of any type. In which case, if that is the truth, then it's like, well, is it defaming of Baldoni to move the needle from sexual harassment to just, general workplace harassment? And I think one of the bigger questions we ask when it comes to this is Blake Lively able to understand the difference between a director directing her and harassment? And it's an honest question to ask, because when you think about what the director has to do, the director and the producers, they have to get Blake Lively on set. They got to talk to her about these scenes where she's delivering babies. They got to do all these different things. And Baldoni's in the scene. So for her to claim harassment because they wanted to show her a water birth scene that might, be what they want the face to look like while you're giving birth. We want to, as whatever. For her to claim harassment in those circumstances, claiming they walked in on her while she wasn't dressed. Well, it's like, well, does she spend 4 hours in the chair, not dressed, but with a towel on while they do makeup and things like that? I don't know, but for her to make these claims, this is why you're deposing the makeup artist. This is why you're finding information out from all sides, because heavy claims for her to make on a set where you're kind of at camp. Everyone's working with everybody. You kind of have to be short. Blake's like, and by the way, my opinion was nearly cemented when we saw that slow dance scene where Blake was saying, oh, the lighting's over here. And Baldoni in character, still trying to schmooze her, saying, hey, don't worry about it. Like, I got it. Like, that was Baldoni's way of saying, we already met with the cinematographer. We already spent 3 hours setting up the lighting. We already did the stand-ins. We did the camera test. Just shut the fuck up and stand on the dotted line. Stand on the line and smile. That's all you have to do. You want to direct, go become a director. That was the nice way of Baldoni saying, no, we all got it. But if you're getting denied, weird things happen. And that's the most graceful way I can speak on behalf of what might be going through Blake Lively's head, is that weird things happen. And when you're told no, if you've got triggers and your dad told you no, or you got dumped by someone, or your, attachment issues, who the hell knows in which way you then reinterpret things? Well, hey, that's no excuse, but it might explain, right? Because I always get comments from people, why are you making excuses for Blake Lively? Not at all. We are just operating at a higher intellectual intelligence, not from you, the audience, but we're trying to think of this from the smartest place possible and not the caveman, instant limbic flare, fight or flight response. Blake bad, Justin good. Maybe that's the case. But why do people do bad things? And if Blake did make this up, does she believe these claims that he was harassing her, when in fact, maybe he was just saying, no, like take a baby. My son might believe I'm a bad dad in the moment where I don't let him eat the donut. He might believe that, but that's because he's not thinking rationally. He's just mad that daddy won't give me this, pumpkin flavored, powdered donut. And that's how kids act, because everything's life or death and in the moment, right? And when you get triggered, you almost get brought back to your childlike state, right? That's what a trigger is. It's like an involuntary. Anyway, you guys get the point. I'm not a psychologist. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. All right, we got to move it on. Coming up next, I'm going to share with you our president of the United States declaring that there is a war within. What the hell does this mean? And why are we going to war with our own cities? This coming next.